Top 10. I reviewed them this morning and I feel good about them. Since I put this together last week, I was wondering if on the cusp of this video, if some of these I would either think we're in the wrong spot or shouldn't be on the list, but all of them I feel great about. Listened to a bunch this morning. I'll jump into that in a second. I don't think I've ever said this. I'm going to say it just this one time. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. I feel terrible. My stomach turns saying that. I think 60% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribers. And as I've shared here, I recently left my full-time corporate job. And I'm giving a little run at trying a variety of things. So if there's any way I can make a few bucks off of doing these videos, that would be great. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna edit this out. I'll just keep it, who cares? I can't believe I have 2,600 subscribers as is, but if you do like this content and come back often, just hit that, oh God, I can't even say it. Hit that button. All right, let's move on. Top 10 favorite, not necessarily the best, but my favorite records of the past 25 years of this century. And coming in at number 10, all these are gems, they could all be number one, is The Harrow and the Harvest. Sorry, I gotta get my notes up here so I can see the years. This is 2011, I'm pretty sure, but just to make sure, yeah. This has turned into my favorite Gillian Welch record. All of her records, is David Rawlings listed as, no, this is just listed as Gillian Welch. All her records are phenomenal. I've talked about how I saw her and David Rawlings in Monterey a few months ago. Tremendous show. I'm gonna grab the photo I took. So I'm really proud of this picture. It came out really well. Sorry, it's a little dusty. Got it framed. Not bad, right? Took this at that show. Already got it framed. Gillian Welch is a treasure, right? I think she will be considered one of the greatest songwriters ever to do it. Up there with John Prine and Dylan, and I would say Jeff Tweedy. This one is signed, which is pretty nice. I think you had to pay a little extra, get a signed copy by Gillian Welch and David Rawlings, but just a wonderful record. The Way It Goes, Hard Times, Scarlet Town, Dark Turn of Mine, The Way It Will Be. Just a phenomenal record, and like I said, could be number one. At number 9 is a record that came out in 2001, and that is The Strokes' Is This It? Is This It? Yeah. A record that I remember I first heard this. I was in New York City and we were going up to Boston for a bachelor party. And my friend Don, who I haven't spoken to in a long, long time, so Don, if you're watching this, hope you're well. He put this record on in the car. I don't think any of us had heard it. He put on this, and I think the Avalanche's Since I Left You, and we were just blown away. One of the more hilarious weekends of my life was that weekend in Boston. But Is This It? I know I've mentioned before that I saw the Strokes, was it only once? I saw them on New Year's Eve, I think it was 2000 into 2001. My buddy Brian, the Strokes and Guided by Voices opened in Harlem at the Apollo Theater. Is that it? Yeah, I think it's the Apollo Theater. Incredible show. We were up on the balcony. Pollard was pounding beers. Brian and I then went to, I can't remember the name of the bar, but it was on Houston. And I think I shared, we were ready to go, head home. We opened the door and it was light out. I think it was like 8 a.m. So we were in that bar for like 6 hours. Didn't even know that it was morning. That was quite a night. But the Strokes were phenomenal. Such a fun night. Love that record. Don't listen to it nearly enough, but I'll go back to it today. Number 8 might be the biggest, not a surprise, but maybe one that a lot of folks either don't know or wouldn't have in their top records of the century, but one that I talk about all the time. It's from 2015 at number 8, Joan Shelley's Over and Even, one of the best singer-songwriter records that I own. She's one of my all-time favorites now. And I first saw her at the Solid Sound Festival at Wilco. Didn't know her at all. And just floored me. I have photos from that show. I've bought all of her records since. Brighter Than the Blues, Stay on My Shore, Over and Over, Not Over by Half, No More Shelter, Easy Now, My Only Trouble. This is just a tremendous record. Look up Easy Now on YouTube, Joan Shelley, and watch some of the performances of that track. So good. So that's it. Number 8. Number 7, speaking of singer-songwriters, another record and artist that I don't hear much about on any of the channels that I follow. And this is the Josh Rouse record, 1972. Definitely one of the better singer-songwriter records ever. I listened to this record non-stop when it came out. It came out in 2003. This sounds like it came out in the 70s, and the songwriting is just tremendous. There's a line, 30 years old and nothing's changed. I was 30 when this record came out, and I was feeling very stuck in my life. And that line played a role in giving me the courage to try something pretty radically different for me, which was to come out to the Bay Area, which I ended up doing 2 years later. I remember waiting on the subway platform for the F train to get back to my apartment in Brooklyn and just replaying that song, 30 years old and nothing's changed. I wish I knew the line before it because it sort of ties it together. So Josh Rouse, in a pretty direct way, played a role in me moving out to California because I just kept thinking, nothing's changing. I need to make a move, and I did. So that is just a phenomenal record. If you don't know it, go back to it. Or actually, if you don't know it, that would mean go to it for the first time. If you do know it, go back to it. Coming in at number 6, also a very New York band, although I discovered them, I think, after I moved out of New York into the Bay Area. I've seen them 5 or 6 times, 7, 8, maybe 10. This came out in 2007, Sound of Silver by LCD Soundsystem. I think it was 2011, I flew back for what was supposed to be their final show at Terminal 5. Turned out to not even be close to their final show. But that was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. I remember Dance Yourself Clean from This Is Happening. Is that what it's called? This Is Happening? Was just unbelievable. There's footage of it on YouTube. Highly recommend checking it out. When the song kind of explodes a few minutes in. And we thought we were watching the last LCD Soundsystem show. Then they ended up, I think, tacking on another Terminal 5 show. Then they added the MSG shows, which were, again, supposed to be their final shows. And now they're just back and they play all the time. So I listened to this morning. Get Innocuous, Time to Get Away, North American Scum, Someone Great, All My Friends. Unbelievable record. Excuse me, I'm having the same problem as I had in the last video. Excuse me. Number 5. This one came out in 2019. Was a shocker when it came out. One of the most unique, yet also incredibly sad records in my entire collection. And that's the Purple Mountains record. David Berman's final record, after many records with the Silver Jews, and then a long hiatus, and then he put out Purple Mountains, which I think is probably the best thing he's ever done. And then he died, I think the night before the tour was supposed to start in Brooklyn, I think. I had a ticket to see them in San Francisco, and it was one of the most highly anticipated shows of my life. I had never seen the Silver Jews. They rarely toured, from what I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I had a ticket to, where was it? Somewhere in the Mission. The name's escaping me. But this record, it's weird. For a record that is so sad, it's also very, in many places, very upbeat. That's just the way that I feel. All My Happiness Is Gone, Darkness and Cold, Margaritas at the Mall, She's Making Friends, I'm Turning Strangers, a great, great song. Storyline Fever, Nights That Won't Happen, that's obviously a sad one to listen to. Excuse me. But this record is, I think about David Berman a lot. It breaks my heart that, he didn't stick around. Sorry, that's not how I meant. That he wasn't around to see the reception this record got, which it's just an unbelievable record. Could easily be my number one, but it's at number 5. Purple Mountains, David Berman's last record. Number 4, this was one for a while. Came out in 2003. Let's show it. The Meadowlands by the Wrens. This, from what I gather, this is pretty hard to find on vinyl. I think it's on Discogs for like 100, 150 maybe. I got it right when it came out. Absolutely kosher. I used to work with that label, not at the label, but worked with them. This, one of the best records ever about growing up or becoming an adult, sort of the transition from being in your 20s into maybe your 30s with family, kids, responsibilities, some of which I related to, some I don't. I don't have any kids. I did have responsibilities. I still do have responsibilities. That's why I'm asking for subs. Oh God, stop. But this, I wish I had the photo. I took a photo with them when they played. I think you can almost see it. Where's it? Up there, right there. That's a Wrens poster from when I saw them in San Francisco, which I think was in 2005. It's really hard to read from here. Incredible show. Incredible show. But we went out afterwards and we took photos at some bar and I think it was on Divisadero in San Francisco. And they signed my CD and they wrote White Castle rules because we were all from New Jersey. And at least White Castle wasn't big in my part of New Jersey, northern New Jersey. But they were such sweet, fun guys to hang out with. Remember, we were drinking Coronas with my buddy Chris, who I mentioned on my last record. This record, masterpiece. We are down to the last 3. And these were pretty easy to put as the top 3. Did I skip anything? No. At number 3, and I have 3 versions of this on vinyl, and I grabbed the one that I have yet to open. Limited to 1,000. Came out in 2007. At the time, I thought it was up there with the greatest records ever made. I've recently listened to it, and I'm pretty much still there. The Historical Conquest of Josh Ritter by Josh Ritter. Never heard anybody in the VC mention this record. This played a huge role in a relationship I was in at the time. We used to listen to this record non-stop. This was sort of our record. I interviewed Josh Ritter on this tour for Jambase. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with Jambase. I remember he had me on his bus. It was outside of, what venue was it? It was a venue in San Francisco. He was on the bus, he had me in. I remember he offered me a beer. I wasn't drinking at the time, so I turned it down. And he told me he was having I still have the recording. I have I don't think we could record on phones then. I have a small little tape recorder, and I still have the interview. It was great. He was such a unique guy, but so sweet. But I was in the car 2 days ago, and Empty Hearts came on, and I got a chill just remembering how much I love this record. To the Dogs or Whoever, Mind's Eye, Right Moves, Temptation of Adam, unbelievable song. Came out in 2007. I saw Josh Ritter about 80 times on that tour. Unbelievable record. Could be number one. We are down to the last two. And these were pretty easy. At number two, another record that just, how on earth did this come about? It's obviously changed the trajectory of this individual's career since. Some of you probably know who I'm about to say, and it's Jason Isbell, his 2013 release, Southeastern. Perfect record, top to bottom. I will say, I never really liked Super 8, so maybe I take that back. Perfect-ish record. But he plays Super 8 a lot live and seems to be sort of a fan favorite. Will Johnson, I didn't know Will Johnson played on, he played on Super 8. Amanda Shires, of course, plays on this. You know, Jason Isbell, I saw him probably in 2011 or 12 with Justin Townes Earl at the Independent in San Francisco. And I don't mean this but he seemed like sort of an afterthought. Left the Drive-By Truckers. I know, obviously, he was, I think, still drinking at the time. I don't know if he quit while he was with the Truckers or after, but, there wasn't much of a crowd there to see Jason Isbell. Now, he's, across the acts that I listen to, he may be the most popular commercially, across any of the bands or single artists that I love, outside of, the classics, Springsteen, Dylan, Stones, McCartney. But this just launched him into this second career. I saw him in Manhattan right after this came out with one of my closest friends, Dave. That was a tremendous show at Lincoln Center. Played a lot of these songs, maybe all of them, but just a ridiculous record. I mean that in the best way. Cover Me Up is one of the best opening tracks on any album ever. So Jason Isbell in at number two, and I can't imagine anyone who's watched my channel for more than 6 minutes doesn't know what's coming next. And I listened to this in full yesterday, and if I did an all-time list, this would have a shot at number one. I made that so dramatic. And it's Wilco's Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. A no-doubter. No doubt about it. I love all these minimal photos. I have 46 copies of this record. There's so much I could tell about. This is the back, love it. Classic towers in Chicago. There's so much I've shared that I was in New York City when 9/11 happened, and we had already had our hands on advanced copies of this, because I think it was supposed to come out in 2001, and then it got delayed given all the stuff that turned out in the Wilco documentary, I Am Trying to Break Your Heart. The sort of echoes of what happened on that day on this record still give me chills. And it's remarkable that those songs were written before that event, or before that day. There's many events that day. Tall Buildings Shake, Voices Escape, Singing Sad, Sad Songs, I Assassin Down the Avenue. So it is, whenever I go to New York, which it used to be 3 or 4 times a year, I don't go nearly as often now. I plan on going in the next month. I walk the streets of Manhattan and play this record because that just reminds me of that not just 9/11, but that period. I think it's one of the most inventive records ever. I still can't believe that Jeff Tweedy and Jay Bennett, I think, were primary drivers behind the sound and direction that they were heading in, made this record. Like, listen to I Am Trying to Break Your Heart 3 times yesterday, and I think I put it up there with Thunder Road, Cover Me Up, one of the greatest openers ever. Maybe just in terms of how it sets the stage for the record, maybe the greatest opening track ever. And I'm just in awe of that period of Wilco. Being There, Summer Teeth, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. I am not as much of a Ghost is Born fan as many are. I'll listen to that today. But I guess it's how people feel about radio, maybe Radiohead with Kid A, which came out in 2000, so it couldn't make this list. Just, where did this come from? I mean, the song I Am Trying to Break Your Heart is like one of the most original songs I've ever heard. Where the drums come in and John Sturrett's bass playing throughout the record is unbelievable. The lyrics, just Yankee Hotel Foxtrot by Wilco, one of the greatest records ever made. And for me, the best record of the past, it is the best, I think it's the best, and also my favorite record of the past 25 years. Still sounds brand new every time I listen to it. Pot Kettle Black, Ashes of American Flags, War on War, Camera, Closing with Reservations, Jesus, Etc., which is probably their biggest hit. It's not even in the top 5 favorite songs of mine on the record, but good one. But Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, number 1, no doubter. As I said, I'm going to be doing more videos coming soon. And thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care.